I'm Scott Sanchez. I'm going to tie up one fly. This particular one is a parachute PFD, personal flotation device parachute, in a mahogany dun color. Fly that floats all day long, fishes all day long, and it's got over 100 fish on it and still held together. Going to put a smear of super glue. Better leaven through chemicals, but you got to go really sparse so you don't get a fly that's too heavy and sink it. And start my thread on that and make a big dubbing loop, which I certainly will not use for dubbing. I'm going to wrap it back down the hook shank so one strand is on either side. And this will become the material for splitting the tail. And it'll also be what I'm going to rib the body with to give it natural segmentation and some durability. I'm going to grab some nice Coq de Leon chicken, a little whiting Coq de Leon, and probably one of the better tailing materials. I'm going to tie that right on top of the hook shank. So what you want to do is you want to push it slightly towards you because it's going to want to roll away from you since you're wrapping your thread clockwise. And then part of fly tying is being curled in inanimate objects. That chicken's dead, it doesn't really care. Take my fingernail and actually put that into place. And I twist this doubled over thread. And the next thing I do is I take my thumbnail or fingernail and push down and splay these fibers so they're evenly splayed. And then I'm going to pull the thread right up through the center of it. Do a better one than that here. So we have a split tail. I can kind of coax it a little bit too. What that split tail does for us, it gives us the realism of a mayfly. But probably the biggest thing from a functional fishing standpoint, I snip off a few of these extra fibers, is if you look at the hook from here to here around the bend and from the shank, the back end weighs as much as the front end, but there's no support on the back end without that split tail. And that gives, I mean, it's how you float a battleship, is water displacement, right? Again, need a little more super glue. It's just going to be a smear right there. And this is the same stuff too. Sometimes I'll use this Gorilla Glue brand super glue, which has got a rubberized deal. I use archery fletching cement because they tend to be slower set and be softer when they're set. But the, you know, if it holds a vein on arrows when you're yanking them out of targets and the arrows are going 300 feet per second, it's probably going to hold the fly. So we can actually put a little bit of mahogany colored, there's like super fine dubbing. I'm going to slip that up and we're going to dub the body. Try to get a nice smooth body. Almost got it in one shot. And as opposed to tie how most people tie their parachute, I can actually tie the, you can call it the wing or the post. Technically, I guess it's the post. So we'll wrap the hackle around over the dubbing. And I grab that thread, twist it together that we had. I'm going to segment the body. If you look at bugs, I like to use the 4-year-old kid analogy of what something looks like. It's very direct, it's very frank. It's the obvious. And I think fish probably do the same thing. Fish aren't counting hooks and legs and stuff, but I mean, almost any insect is very segmented. And put another little smear of super glue here. This stuff's kind of started to coagulate a little bit, which is actually almost perfect for this. I get a really thin strip of 2mm foam I've cut. And this is going to be the PFD part, personal flotation device. A little class 3, make you legal for floating the Snake River. Park Service won't get mad at you. And I'm going to cut it fairly big. It's almost like a Chernobyl indicator. And I leave this pretty long. I'm kind of the waste not, want, waste more want not theory rather than the vice versa. Open market value of this foam is like nothing. And if I cut it too short, it's a pain to wrap. Next thing I'm going to do, another smear of glue. Going to tie that down in the center. And basically we don't really have a tie-in point for bulk like you would with a standard parachute. So you kind of got that double post wing. And grab some nice medium done chicken here. A little saddle hackle. I'm going to actually stroke the fibers back on it and just make a little snip so I actually have fibers for the thread to grab onto so it doesn't pull out as easily. I'm going to set it here and just make a few wraps. I mean, you don't need very much at all. And I left a fair amount of room to finish this off. Next, I'm going to grab a little more dubbing. And you dub it pretty sparsely. We're just going to kind of cover up some of our wraps there basically and build a thorax. And it's a pretty sparse amount. It's almost just like you're coloring your thread. And then we're going to wrap behind that foam. And this way we want that foam long. If it's cut short, you're going to catch that little nub and you're going to get angry. I'm going to leave my thread basically lined up with that center of the wing. I'm going to actually use this to reinforce this. I'm going to wrap my hackle. And this is going to be a single hackle, so like 5-6 times. If you're doing like a double hackle, it'd be like 3 turns. That looks about good. Pull that down, and here's the trick for reinforcing the hackle. I'm going to take my thread and kind of weave it up through the hackle, through the wing, down to the hackle on the bark's backside. I'm going to pull down fairly snug so it seats that. And I got to pull the hackle fibers back a little bit to get this to go through. So I'm going to do that basically twice. And you will kind of get some of that in the thorax there. That's not perfectly colored because you went over the dubbing, but the fish don't care. I'm going to take and tie off the hackle. And you get 2 or 3 good wraps in there. If I want, I take my thumbnail and push it back so I don't crowd the eye. Use my finger to guide it so I can snip that off. And then grab all that junk. Here, if I want to really snip it close, I can. I'm going to actually make just enough thread wraps to kind of cover it. And I can whip finish it. Not waste time and just use my fingers. So I'll get a double whip finish here. There again, there's more room for having less error. One stray fiber there, cut that off. Oops, and then I don't want to put my thread down in my glue. That's a dumb spot. And I grab this foam on the front and barely open my scissors and slip it down. Pull that forward. I'm going to barely open my scissors and trim that down. And I got a little nub. And I grab the poly. And if you cut it straight, it's going to look too even. I mean, not the fish are going to care. We make it look a little neater if we twist it and we cut it. Some of the fiber is going to slip, so it's even but not too even. A little more natural looking. I come around, and what happens when you wrap the hackle like that, you do get some fibers that kind of radiate down. And I'll just kind of fluff that up. I mean, a couple casts and a few fish eating it, and that'll take care of that problem anyway. And then we're going back to the better leaven through just chemicals on this discrete method. Come in here and overcoat this whip finish. Make sure that's not going to come apart. Straight fiber on my disposable bodkin, also known as a toothpick. I just want to make sure that's sealed off there. And I can just pull this, fluff it up. If material breaks doing that, then you got the wrong thing. And there's a PFD parachute. You see that little button on top. Clean up a few stray fibers here. There we go. But the nice thing is from underneath, it's really, really sparse. You got lots of hackle on there. It'll pretty much pop back up if it goes underneath. So we do this in a variety of colors. You know the classic items, the Hecuba, which is the fall drake, parachute hairs here, purple haze style. But I do split tails on all of them. I do that PFD foam and polypropylene wing, and maybe this year I'll catch 100 fish on one fly again too.